In the official version of my life, I am the sort of girl schools put on posters. Neat uniform, neat grades, neat smile. I am the student whose name is read out so often at assemblies that the microphone starts to sound tired. Teachers call me reliable, the way people talk about bridges. Parents point at me in the corridor as if I am a public service announcement. Even the janitor at Halcyon Preparatory knows my schedule, because I am always exactly where I am supposed to be. That is the official version. The private version is that I have a hobby. I collect cracks in perfection and keep them in my pocket like marbles. I have been doing it since primary school, when I learned that the safest way to survive praise is to leave yourself a secret exit. In the second semester of 11th grade, my exit walked into our classroom with a silver streak in his hair and the posture of someone who had never once apologized for existing. His name, written on the new student slip the homeroom teacher held up like a warning label, was Noah Rook. He looked like an artist someone had tried to dress as a delinquent. Leather bracelet, single ear cuff, boots too expensive to be called rebellious. He had the kind of gaze that made boys straighten their spines and made girls glance away while pretending not to. The class did what classes always do when a rumor becomes a person. They stared, then whispered, then stared again. I, being the class monitor and the academic captain of student council, was expected to stare politely and then offer help. What I did instead was feel my heart trip over itself, as if it had been waiting for this exact kind of trouble. Noah took the empty seat in the back row, the one no one wanted because it sat under the broken vent that clicked all winter. He set his bag down with a soft thud and leaned back, as if school was a theater and he had purchased the best seat for judging the performance. Our homeroom teacher, Ms. Arden, clapped her hands and called for attention. "New student," she said, smiling with the cautious optimism of someone approaching a stray dog. "Be kind. Be welcoming. No hazing, no gossip, no—" Her eyes flicked toward me, because she knew my reputation for being helpful had sharp edges. Especially no creative behavior. I adjusted my glasses and gave her my most dutiful nod. In my head, I was already drafting my first experiment. At lunch, I walked up to Ms. Arden with a stack of tutoring sign-up sheets. "He'll need help catching up," I said, sincere enough to pass any inspection. "I can sit with him, partner him, make sure he doesn't feel isolated." Ms. Arden's face softened. It always did when someone offered responsibility as if it were a gift. She squeezed my shoulder. "Lena, I knew I could count on you," she whispered, using the nickname she only used when she was proud. I smiled. It was the smile of a girl who had never once been late to class. It was also the smile of a girl walking toward a cliff edge just to see how close she could get without falling. The next morning, Noah found me in his seat because I had moved. I had arrived early, slid my desk to the right like a chess piece, and taken the place beside him. When he came in, he stopped as if he had walked into the wrong room. His eyes lingered on the name tag taped to my notebook, Lenora Vale, in clean capital letters. Then his gaze traveled to the neat row of highlighters, the calendar color-coded down to the minute, the spare mechanical pencil aligned with the ruler. His mouth quirked. "You're the famous one," he said. His voice had a low roughness that made simple words sound like secrets. "I'm the assigned hazard," I answered. I kept my tone flat, so it would feel like a joke that might also be a warning. "Welcome to Halcyon. We do everything by the book." I brought extra bookmarks. He didn't sit. I didn't ask for a babysitter. "Good," I said, opening my planner. I didn't ask for a benchmate with a dramatic entrance. Yet here we are. Noah stared at me for a beat longer than most people dared. Then he dropped into his chair. The metal legs squealed like a complaint. "Fine," he said. "Just don't touch my stuff." I leaned my chin into my palm and studied him openly, because being the top student came with a kind of immunity. "I have a question," I said. Noah's eyebrows rose. "Already? Rumor says you fight," I continued, as calmly as if I were asking about homework. "If that's true, your reflexes must be good. Can you show me your hands?" He blinked. Color crept up his neck, a faint red that looked almost like the first brushstroke of a painting. "What?" "Your hands," I repeated. "They're interesting. I'm curious." He swallowed. "That's a weird thing to say. It's a normal thing to say if you're a future surgeon." I lied. Or a future troublemaker. Either way, hands matter. He looked down at his fingers, as if suddenly unsure they belonged to him. "I'm not fighting anyone," he muttered. And you're not a surgeon. Not yet, I said. Noah's ears turned pink. It was the smallest detail, and it delighted me more than any A+ ever had. I had expected a wolf. I had found a boy who blushed like a guilty sunrise. The first week went the way new disasters always do. Politely at first, then increasingly loud. Noah wasn't rude to teachers, but he had the habit of speaking as if rules were optional. He came in a minute late and offered no apology. He turned in assignments with the confidence of someone tossing coins into a fountain. He fell asleep during a lecture on 19th century reform movements and woke up at the bell as if he had been monitoring the time with his spine. The class watched him like he was a storm over the sea, fascinating and potentially lethal. I watched him like he was a puzzle someone had tried to solve with the wrong picture on the box. The more I spoke to him, the more I noticed the contradictions. His bag held a well-worn paperback of poetry beside a set of precision screwdrivers. His notebook margins were filled with tiny sketches of machines, gears, and wings. His phone case was cracked, but his pen was an expensive fountain pen with a silver nib. He didn't laugh much, but when he did, it was startlingly soft. It made my chest feel strange, like a door shifting on its hinges. At the end of the second week, I started my collection. Not photographs, Halcyon had strict rules and even stricter gossip. Instead, I collected moments. I wrote them down in a small notebook I kept behind my math book, a list titled, Evidence that Noah Rook is not a villain. Item 1. He offered his seat to a freshman who got on the bus late. Item 2. He carried the lab glassware back to storage when everyone else left. Item 3. He looked away when someone cried. Not out of cruelty, but as if he understood too well. Item 4. When he said whatever, he meant, I'm scared you'll see I care. I didn't tell him about the notebook. I didn't need to. Part of the fun was knowing I was the only one who saw the hidden parts. On a Thursday afternoon, our chemistry teacher paired us for a lab on reaction rates. Noah rolled his eyes at the assignment. We're going to explode something, he said. Finally, a subject I can respect. We're not exploding anything, I corrected, handing him goggles. We're observing. He took the goggles and held them like a reluctant gift. Observation is just staring with paperwork. And you excel at staring, I said, setting up the beakers. His head snapped toward me. Do I? Everyone notices, I replied. You watch people like you're waiting for them to betray you. The room quieted around us for a breath. Noah's jaw tightened. Then he forced a shrug. It's a habit. I turned the comment into a joke, because I had no interest in making him run away. Try staring at the stopwatch instead, I said. It will not betray you, he snorted, and the sound was dangerously close to a laugh. Halfway through the lab, a drop of acid splashed onto my glove. I hissed, surprised more than hurt. Noah's hand shot out, steadying my wrist, guiding it toward the rinse station. His grip was firm, careful, the kind of grip that said he knew exactly how much pressure to use. You okay? He asked quietly, eyes sharp. I met his gaze. The official version of me would have said, yes, thank you. The private version of me leaned in a fraction and whispered, if you keep grabbing me like that, people will think you're my boyfriend. Noah froze. The color returned to his neck in an instant. Stop, he said, but he didn't let go right away. That's not funny. Is it not? I asked, blinking innocently. I thought you liked rumors. I hate rumors, he snapped, finally releasing my wrist. Then he looked away, as if embarrassed by his own reaction. Good, I said, rinsing my glove. Then we have something in common. It was true. I hated rumors too. Rumors were lazy stories, and I had spent my whole life working hard. The rumor about me was that I was perfect. The rumor about him was that he was dangerous. Both rumors were wrong in ways that mattered. The first time Noah got in trouble, it was for something stupid. A group of seniors had cornered a freshman in the stairwell, demanding his lunch money like it was a ritual. Noah walked by, paused, and said, That's boring. One of the seniors, Jax Lowell, captain of the basketball team and self-appointed ruler of hallway politics, laughed. What did you say? Noah didn't raise his voice. He didn't even look impressed. I said you're boring, he repeated. Pick a hobby. Get a life. Jack stepped closer. The air in the stairwell went tight. I had followed, because my feet had a mind of their own when trouble called my name. I watched Noah's posture shift, not into aggression, but into readiness. He wasn't eager to fight. He was prepared to defend. Jack shoved him, Noah caught the shove like it was a ball, redirected it, and pinned Jax's wrist against the railing with a twist that looked practiced. Jax hissed. The freshman stared, wide-eyed. I stepped forward before anyone could decide to make it worse. "This is a restricted area," I said loudly, in the exact tone Ms. Arden used when she found students in the wrong corridor. "Hall monitors are on their way." It was a lie, but it sounded like truth because I wore truth like a uniform. Jax jerked his wrist free and glared at me. "Vale," he spat. "Stay out of it." "I can't," I said, tilting my head. "I'm on student council. It's literally my job to interfere with fun." Noah's mouth twitched. Jax shoved past us. "You two are freaks," he muttered, then stormed off. The freshman ran. Noah exhaled, slow. "You didn't have to do that," he said. I shrugged. "I didn't want them to report you." Noah's gaze sharpened. "Why?" I adjusted my glasses. "Because, if they report you, Ms. Arden will cry," I said. "And if Ms. Arden cries, she will assign extra essays, and I don't have time." Noah stared at me. Then he laughed. A brief sound like a door opening. "You're ridiculous," he said. "That's the nicest thing anyone has called me this week," I replied. By the end of that month, Noah's presence had begun to warp the orbit of the whole class. People who never spoke to anyone started speaking just to have an opinion about him. Girls formed cliques of curiosity, taking turns accidentally, passing his desk. Boys tried to test him in small ways, bumping his shoulder, making jokes, calling him gangster with a nervous grin. Noah answered all of it with indifference that wasn't quite indifference, more like an armor he didn't know how to remove. With me, he was different. Not softer, exactly, but more real. He argued with me about everything. My habit of writing to-do lists, my insistence on clean margins, my obsession with arriving early. "You plan like you're trying to outsmart the universe," he said one day, watching me rewrite my schedule. "The universe cheats," I answered, tapping my pen. "I refuse to play without notes." He leaned back, chair balancing on two legs. "You ever just let things happen?" I looked at him. "That sounds like a threat." Noah smirked, but his eyes were tired. "It's not," he said. "It's a suggestion." I opened my mouth to tease him, but the bell rang, and the moment slipped away. That night, I found myself thinking about his suggestion the way you think about a song you didn't mean to like. I wanted to ask him what had made him tired. I wanted to ask him why he had transferred mid-year, why he wore expensive boots and a cracked phone case, why he flinched at raised voices. Instead, I asked him something safer the next day. "What's your favorite food?" I said during study hall, as if we were normal. Noah blinked. "Why?" "Because I'm bored," I said, honest enough to be harmless. "And because if you fail chemistry, I need to know what bribe will work." He stared at his notebook. "Milk bread," he said finally, "the kind that's too sweet and too soft." I raised an eyebrow. "That's unexpectedly wholesome." "Don't tell anyone," he muttered, ears turning pink again. "I'll deny it." "Too late," I said, scribbling it down in my private notebook. "Your reputation is ruined." The following Monday, I brought him a small paper bag from the bakery near the bus stop. Inside were 3 pieces of milk bread, warm and fragrant. I set the bag on his desk without a word. Noah stared at it like it might bite. "What's this?" "A hostage situation," I said. "Eat it, or I will tell the entire school that the terrifying Noah Rook cries over pastries." His lips pressed into a line. He opened the bag, took a cautious bite, and closed his eyes for half a second as if tasting something he had missed. When he opened them again, he looked almost angry. "You're going to get me addicted," he said. "Good," I replied. "Then you'll have a reason to show up." That was how it started. Little exchanges disguised as jokes, kindness disguised as blackmail. In exchange, Noah did things for me that were so quietly intimate they made my thoughts stumble. He walked me to the bus stop when it rained without announcing it as an act of care. He fixed the loose hinge on my locker with his screwdrivers. He held my umbrella without trying to share it. He listened when I complained about calculus proofs, even though he pretended not to understand. Once, when I was staring at a physics problem so long my eyes felt grainy, he slid his notebook toward me. On it was a diagram he had drawn, clean and simple, showing the same concept from another angle. "Try it like this," he said, voice casual. I stared. "You can do this," I whispered. He shrugged, looking away. I'm not dumb, he said, as if reminding himself as much as me. I just didn't do school right before. Why not? I asked softly. Noah's jaw flexed. Then he lifted his shoulder in a half shrug that was more shield than gesture. Long story, he said. I didn't push. I waited. That became my second hobby. Waiting in a way that didn't feel like pressure. The pressure in my own life was constant. A hand on my back, pushing me toward the next milestone. I had grown used to it the way you get used to a heavy backpack. The straps biting but familiar. I didn't even think to put it down. Noah noticed anyway. He noticed because he watched everything. The week before midterms, the air at Halcyon thickened with panic. Even the confident students started chewing pens. Teachers handed out review packets like they were life vests. Ms. Arden taped motivational quotes to the door. You are capable, one said in bubble letters. You are not your score, said another, which was a lie so obvious it made me laugh. I didn't panic. I never panicked. Panic was for people who hadn't spent years building fortresses out of routines. I simply tightened my schedule, cut my sleep by 30 minutes, and rewrote my revision plan until it looked like a military campaign. On Wednesday, Noah watched me cross out dinner and replace it with practice problems. He frowned. You're not eating? I will, I said. Later. He tapped my planner with his pen. Later is how people faint, he said. Don't be dramatic, I replied, but my voice sounded thin. Noah's eyes narrowed. You're doing that thing, he said. What thing? I asked, annoyed despite myself. The thing where you act like your body is a machine, he said. Like if you push hard enough, it won't break. I froze. The words hit too close, like a dart thrown with perfect aim. And you're doing your thing, I snapped, because defense is easier than truth. The thing where you act like you don't care, so you don't have to admit you want anything. Noah's gaze sharpened. The silence between us was loud. Then, unexpectedly, he exhaled and looked away. Touché, he muttered. I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I felt something twist in my chest, a rare discomfort. I didn't like hurting him. I also didn't like being seen. That afternoon, I went to the library alone and studied until the overhead lights buzzed. My mind performed well, but my body began to feel like an abandoned vehicle, functional, neglected. When I stood to stretch, my vision swam. I gripped the edge of the table and waited for the world to steady. It did, eventually, but the moment left a sour taste. On my way out, I passed the quiet study rooms. One door was cracked open. I heard a low voice. Again, Noah said. Curiosity pulled me closer. Inside, Noah was tutoring himself. He had a textbook open, a pile of worksheets, and a timer on his phone. He spoke softly under his breath as he worked through problems, correcting himself, trying again. His handwriting was messy but determined. For a boy who acted like nothing mattered, he was fighting hard against something invisible. My anger drained. My admiration rose, unwanted and bright. I stepped back before he noticed me, feeling suddenly like I had stumbled into someone's private prayer. That night, I dreamed about a staircase I couldn't climb because my feet were too heavy. When I woke, my throat hurt, and a dull ache sat behind my eyes. I ignored it. I always ignored things that weren't on my list. On Friday, I finally paid for that habit. It happened during a mock exam in the gym, the kind where the school tried to replicate real test conditions, strict and silent, rows of desks lined up like a battlefield. The clock ticked loud enough to be cruel. I was halfway through the physics section when the letters on the page blurred. I blinked. The blur stayed. A wave of dizziness rolled through me, and the gym ceiling seemed to tilt. I gripped my pencil harder. I told myself to focus. Then my stomach lurched, and the room spun. I raised my hand, because even fainting had etiquette. But the teacher's face was too far away. The last thing I saw before darkness was Noah half standing 2 rows over, his chair scraping sharply, his eyes wide with something like fear. When I woke, I was in the nurse's office, lying on a cot with a blanket that smelled faintly of disinfectant. Sunlight striped the blinds. Someone sat in the chair beside me. Noah. He was hunched forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor like he was trying to understand it. When he noticed me stir, he jerked his head up. You're awake, he said, voice too quiet. Unfortunately, I murmured, throat dry. I was enjoying the break. Noah's expression tightened. Don't joke, he said. You scared everyone. Everyone? I asked, surprised. Noah's jaw locked. Me, he corrected, looking away quickly. The nurse came in then, and Noah stood, stepping back like he had been caught in a place he didn't have permission to occupy. She checked my temperature, scolded me gently, and told me to eat something before returning to class. I nodded obediently, because that was what I did. After she left, Noah held out a bottle of water and a small packet of crackers. I bought these, he said, as if confessing to a crime. I took them, fingers brushing his. Thank you, I said, sincere. Noah's gaze lingered on my face. You're not invincible, he said. I smiled faintly. Yes, I am. I just forget to fuel the machine. Noah shook his head, frustration flashing. You're not a machine, he said. You're a person who keeps trying to earn permission to breathe. The words cut through me. I sat up slowly, crackers crinkling in my hand. What do you know about earning permission? I asked, voice sharper than I intended. Noah's eyes went distant for a second, like he had opened a door to a hallway he usually avoided. More than I want to, he said. Then he forced his expression back into something neutral. Eat, he added, softer. If you faint again, I'm carrying you out myself, and I promise you will hate the rumors. I laughed despite the tightness in my chest. Are you threatening me? Yes, he said, dead serious. I'll make it embarrassing. I took a bite of cracker. It tasted like salt and surrender. After that day, something shifted. Not in the official world. In the official world, I returned to class, topped the mock exam anyway, and received a polite email from Ms. Arden asking if I was taking care. In my private world, Noah started watching me differently. He would tap his knuckle on my desk at lunch and say, "Eat." He would shove a carton of juice toward me during study hall without looking at me. He would walk me to the vending machine as if escorting a VIP. It should have annoyed me. Instead, it felt like someone had quietly loosened the straps of my backpack. I didn't tell him that. I teased him instead. Are you my nutritionist now? I asked one day as he placed a banana on my notebook like it was evidence. Noah didn't blink. No, he said. I'm your hostage negotiator. Your body has been held captive by your ego. I stared at him. That's an outrageous sentence. It's accurate, he replied. Eat the banana. I ate it, because his stubbornness was oddly persuasive. He looked satisfied in a way that made his eyes soften. It made my stomach flip, which was unfair. The rumor mill, of course, did what it always did. People noticed that the dangerous transfer was suddenly always near the perfect girl. They noticed his quiet acts, carrying my bag when my hands were full, handing me a scarf when the weather turned cold. They noticed my rare laughter, the way my stern mask cracked when he muttered something under his breath. They made theories. Some said I was fixing him. Some said he was corrupting me. One girl from another class, Hannah Wren, approached me in the hallway after school. Hannah was pretty in the polished way, hair always perfect, nails always neat. She had been in Noah's middle school, according to the whispers. She smiled at me like she was practicing. Lenora, she said, can we talk? I had heard her name before. Noah never spoke it, but it hovered around him like a shadow. I tilted my head. About what? Hannah's smile thinned. About Noah, she said. He's not what you think. And what do you think I think? I asked, calm. Hannah's eyes flicked toward my notebook. I think you're a good girl, she said. I think you like the idea of a project. But Noah, he has a history. I held her gaze. Do you? I asked. Hannah's chin lifted. I grew up with him, she said. I know what he's capable of. So do I replied. Hannah's eyes narrowed. You don't, she insisted. You see him at school. You see him with teachers around. But outside, she leaned closer, voice dropping. Outside he's reckless. He gets in trouble. He ruins things. I smiled, slow. Sounds like you're describing a teenager, I said. Hannah's cheeks flushed. I'm trying to help you, she snapped. You have a reputation. You have scholarships, competitions, a future. He could drag you down. I thought of Noah in the study room, whispering, again, to himself like a promise. I thought of his hand on my wrist, steady and careful. I thought of his quiet fear when I fainted. "Thank you for your concern," I said, polite enough to be a blade, "but I'm not fragile." Hannah's eyes hardened. "If you won't listen," she said, "I'll make sure you do." She walked away, leaving a faint scent of expensive perfume and threat. That evening, a message arrived in my anonymous school inbox. It contained a photo. Me, in the hallway behind the gym, holding a cigarette I had taken from someone out of curiosity, and then promptly coughed over. In the picture, my eyes were wet from smoke, my cheeks flushed, my hand half raised in panic. The caption read, "Perfect girl? Really?" My stomach dropped. Halcyon's culture was built on images. Who you were, what you represented, which trophy you belonged to. A photo like that could turn my official version into a joke. Another message followed. "Break up with him. Post it publicly. Or everyone sees this." I stared at my screen, the cold sinking through me. Fear was a rare visitor in my life, but it arrived fully formed, with sharp teeth. I could handle failing a test. I could handle disappointment. I did not know how to handle the loss of my mask. Then, slowly, my private self stepped forward and took the fear by the throat. The thing about being seen as perfect is that people assume you have something to lose. They do not realize you have already lost the freedom to be messy. They do not realize that sometimes a crack can be a weapon. I replied to the anonymous account with a single sentence. "Fine. Tomorrow." When I hit send, my hands were steady. The next morning, I walked into class with my hair neatly tied back, my uniform immaculate, my expression calm. Noah glanced at me and immediately frowned. "What happened?" he murmured. I sat down and opened my notebook. "Nothing," I said. Noah squinted at me. "That's a lie. It's a habit," I replied, echoing his words from weeks ago. Noah stared at me, then leaned closer. "Tell me after school," he said quietly. "No," I answered, equally quiet. "I'm handling it." He looked like he wanted to argue, but the teacher walked in. The day crawled. My mind moved through classes like it was wading through water. At lunch, I didn't eat. Noah put a sandwich in front of me anyway. I stared at it, then at him. He held my gaze. Stubborn. "Eat," he said, "or I'll start a rumor that you fainted because your soul left your body from boredom." Despite everything, a laugh bubbled out of me, small and surprised. I took a bite. It tasted like he cared. After school, instead of going to the library, I went to the media room. Halcyon had a student-run channel used for announcements and school events. It also had a live stream set up, because the school liked to pretend it was modern. I signed in with my student council credentials. My hands moved with practiced calm as I adjusted the camera, checked the mic, and opened the channel that had thousands of followers, mostly students, but also parents and alumni who liked watching Halcyon's shining examples. At 6 p.m., I went live. The screen filled with comments immediately. "Lena is streaming. Study tips, queen. What's the topic?" I smiled at the camera the way I smiled at assemblies. "Hi," I said. "Today I'm doing something different. I'm not teaching. I'm sharing." Comments exploded. "Sharing what? Is this a confession? Is this about the transfer?" I tilted my head slightly, the gesture that made people lean in. "Some of you have seen rumors," I said. "Some of you have pictures. I want to tell you something." The chat paused, as if the whole school had inhaled. "I am not perfect," I continued. "I never was. I just learned early that people like trophies more than people." Hearts and shocked emojis flooded the screen. I kept my voice even. "Last week, I tried a cigarette out of curiosity. I coughed, I cried, and I hated it. I will not do it again. Not because I'm afraid of rules, but because I'm not interested in pretending I'm tougher than I am." The comments went wild. "Wait, that's it?" She admitted it. "Legend. Principal is watching?" I leaned forward and held up a sheet of paper. "Now," I said, "for anyone who wants to use this to shame me, I'm giving you a better story." I flipped the paper around. On it was a physics problem, written neatly, the kind of trick question Halcyon loved. Underneath, in smaller writing, was a sentence. "If you want to control me with a photo, try solving this first." I let it hang for a second, then smiled. "Solve it," I said. "Post your answer. If you get it right, you can lecture me about morality." The chat erupted with laughter, applause, and outrage. Someone typed, "She's savage." Another, "Who threatened her?" Another, "Noah, marry her." I ended the stream after 10 minutes, heart pounding. It was a risk. It was also a relief. I had taken the crack and turned it into a window. When I walked out of the media room, Noah was waiting in the hallway. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "You did that," he said slowly. "Yes," I replied. Noah stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Then he exhaled a laugh, half disbelief, half admiration. "You're insane," he said. "Thank you," I answered. "I aim for accuracy." His eyes softened. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, quieter. I hesitated, then told the truth in the smallest way I could. "Because if I told you," I said, "I might have asked you to save me, and I don't want to be someone you have to save." His jaw clenched hard enough to show a groove. "You're not a burden," he said. "You're you." I looked away, throat tight. "What about the person who sent it?" he asked. "Do you know who it was?" "I have a guess," I said, thinking of Hannah's polished smile. "But it doesn't matter now." Noah's expression hardened for a second, a flash of protectiveness. "It matters," he said. "If someone is trying to hurt you, then they failed," I interrupted, surprising myself with the firmness of my voice. Noah studied me, then nodded slowly. "Okay," he said. "But if they try again, tell me." I met his gaze. "Why?" I asked. Noah looked away, ears pink. "Because," he muttered, "I don't like seeing you scared." The word scared landed in my chest like a bell. I hadn't realized I had looked scared. The next few weeks were a blur of studying and strange, steady closeness. My live stream became a legend. Even Miss Arden, after a day of furious meetings with administration, pulled me aside and whispered, "You're impossible," with a reluctant smile. The principal made a speech about integrity and responsibility. Students made memes. Hannah avoided me, her eyes sharp when our paths crossed. Noah, meanwhile, started studying like he had been possessed by a polite demon. He stayed after school, asked questions, rewrote notes. When he got a B+ on a quiz, he stared at it like it was a miracle. "I didn't know I could do this," he murmured. "You always could," I said. "You just needed to stop treating effort like an enemy." He glanced at me. "You should listen to your own advice," he said, and I rolled my eyes but felt warmed anyway. One evening, after a long study session, we walked out into the cold. The sky was dark, the campus lights bright. My fingers were numb. Noah took off his scarf without asking and draped it around my neck. It smelled faintly of soap in winter. I stopped. "You'll be cold," I said. He shrugged. "I'll survive." I looked up at him. His breath fogged the air. His eyes, usually guarded, looked almost gentle. "Noah," I said, voice small, "why did you transfer?" He stared ahead for a moment, then spoke as if reading from a page he had memorized. "My dad moved," he said. "New job, new city." It was too smooth, too rehearsed. I didn't believe it. I didn't call him out. Instead, I said, "Okay." We kept walking. But the question stayed with me, hovering like a star. A week later, the answer found me in an unexpected place. It was Saturday afternoon, and I had gone to the convenience store near campus to buy caffeine and a replacement eraser. As I reached for a bottle of electrolyte drink, I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Excuse me," a man said, smooth and expensive. I turned. Noah stood a few steps away, stiff beside an older man in a tailored coat. The man looked like he belonged in a boardroom, not in a convenience store. His eyes were sharp, his hair silver at the temples. Noah's shoulders were tense. He didn't look like a rebel. He looked like a son being measured. The man glanced at me. "You're Lenora," he said. It wasn't a question. I stared, momentarily blank. "Yes." The man's gaze flicked to Noah. "So this is the reason you've been refusing tutors," he said calmly. "You found your own." Noah pressed his teeth together, jawline sharp. "Dad," he said. Warning. The man smiled slightly. "Relax," he said. "I'm not here to interfere. I'm here to remind you of your options." His gaze returned to me. "Thank you for helping my son," he said, polite. "He's stubborn." "So am I," I replied before I could stop myself. Noah's eyes widened. The man's smile deepened. Good, he said. Stubbornness is useful. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. But be careful. Noah has a habit of running when things get serious. He doesn't like feeling owned. Noah flinched. Stop, he muttered. The man straightened. I'll be in town for 2 days, he said, addressing Noah. Dinner tomorrow. Your mother insists. Noah's face tightened. I have exams, he said. So do millions of students, his father replied. You'll manage. He nodded once at me, then left the store, moving with the quiet authority of someone who was never told no. The moment he was gone, Noah exhaled shakily, as if he had been holding his breath for years. I stood there, drink in hand, staring. Your dad, I said slowly, is terrifying. Noah gave a humorless laugh. Yeah, he said. That's the polite word. I watched him. So you didn't transfer because he moved? I said. Noah's jaw worked as if he were chewing down a complaint. No, he admitted. The word came out like it cost him. I waited, giving him my quiet patience. Noah stared at the shelves of instant noodles, eyes distant. I transferred because I messed up, he said finally. Back at my old school, I got into a fight, not a stairwell shove, a real one. Police came, headlines. My dad cleaned it up. He swallowed. He said I could either be sent abroad to some boarding program where everyone pretends they're better than their parents, or I could come here and start over. But starting over came with conditions. Conditions, I repeated softly. Noah nodded, bitter. No more trouble. No more headlines. No more mistakes, he said. He wanted a version of me that wouldn't embarrass the family. The words hit a familiar place in me. I looked down at my drink. And did you agree? I asked. Noah's laugh was sharp. What choice did I have? He said. Then his voice softened. I thought I could do it. I thought I could be quiet. But then you showed up with your color-coded universe and your ridiculous mouth, and suddenly I wasn't quiet anymore. I looked up. Noah's eyes were on me, raw. You make me want things, he said, almost angry. You make me want to be better. Not because my dad demands it, but because you look at me like I'm worth the effort. My throat tightened. I forced a smile, because vulnerability scared me more than rumors. You are worth the effort, I said. Noah's expression cracked. Just a little. That's dangerous, he murmured. Yes, I agreed, but I'm tired of safe. We stood in the aisle, the fluorescent lights humming. For a second, the world felt suspended, as if it was waiting for us to choose. Noah stepped closer, his hand hovering near my scarf. If I do something stupid, he said, voice tight, will you hate me? I stared at him. If you do something stupid, I said, I will lecture you. I will annoy you. I will probably make a joke at your expense, but I won't hate you. Noah's eyes flickered. Promise? He asked. I lifted my chin. I don't promise easily, I said. But yes. Noah's exhale looked like relief. Then he did something that made my pulse spike. He reached out and tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear, fingers barely grazing my skin. It was a small gesture, tender and almost clumsy. It made my lungs forget their job. I stepped back half an inch, because I needed air. Noah's hand dropped immediately, as if he had touched a live wire. His ears went pink. Sorry, he muttered. Don't, I said quickly, voice too soft. Don't apologize for being gentle. He stared at me, stunned. Then he smiled, small and crooked. You're impossible, he said. I know, I replied, and my voice shook with something that felt like happiness. Exams arrived like an avalanche. We survived them the way we survived everything, by moving forward even when the air was thin. Noah's grades rose steadily. My grades stayed high, but my sleep returned, inch by inch. I started eating lunch without being threatened. I started laughing in class, quietly, at Noah's muttered comments. People noticed. Ms. Arden noticed too. One afternoon, she called Noah to her desk after class. I pretended not to listen, but I listened anyway. You've improved, she told him, voice warm. I'm proud of you. Noah shifted uncomfortably. It's just work, he said. Ms. Arden smiled. Work is the point, she said. Then her gaze flicked to me, and her smile became sharper. And you, she added. Stop acting like a saint. You're corrupting my students. I smiled sweetly. I would never. I lied. Noah snorted. Ms. Arden sighed. Both of you, she said. Keep each other out of trouble. And please, for the love of my blood pressure, no more public confessions. Noah's pupils flared with surprise. That wasn't me, he said quickly. Ms. Arden's eyebrow rose. It never is, she replied. Winter arrived. The campus trees lost their leaves. The air turned crisp. Noah started wearing a knit beanie that made him look less like a rebel and more like a boy trying to hide. One evening, as we left the library, snow began to fall. Slow and quiet. The world softened. Noah held out his hand. Come here, he said. I frowned. Why? I asked, suspicious. Because your hands are freezing, he said, as if that was obvious. And because if you get sick again, I'll have to carry you. And I'm still not over how dramatic you looked fainting. I did not look dramatic, I protested. Noah's mouth quirked. You looked like a tragic heroine, he said. I half expected music. I rolled my eyes but put my hand in his. His palm was warm, calloused in places. He tucked our hands into the pocket of his coat, pulling me close enough that I could feel the heat of him through fabric. My heart stumbled. This is inappropriate, I muttered, because sarcasm was my shield. Noah glanced down at me. Do you want to let go? He asked. His voice was careful, giving me an out. I swallowed. No, I admitted. Noah's breath fogged. Then stop pretending, he said softly. The words sank into me, gentle and heavy. I didn't answer. I had no reason to. The semester ended with the kind of ceremony Halcyon loved. Awards, applause, speeches about excellence. I stood on stage, accepted another plaque, smiled for photos, played my role. Noah sat in the audience, arms crossed, expression bored. But when my eyes found his, he lifted 2 fingers in a lazy salute, and the corner of his mouth curled. It was the smallest rebellion, shared between us, and it felt like belonging. After the ceremony, Hannah cornered me again, this time near the trophy case. Her smile was gone. You think you won, she said, voice tight. You think you can just rewrite the story. I looked at her calmly. Stories get rewritten every day, I said. Hannah's eyes flashed. He'll leave, she hissed. He always leaves when it gets real. Something in me hardened. Then he'll have to live with that, I said. And so will I. Hannah's gaze flicked behind me. I pivoted. Noah stood a few steps away, having heard enough to understand. His expression was unreadable, but his hands were clenched. Hannah stared at him, then turned and walked away, her heels sharp on the floor. Noah stepped closer. Did she threaten you again? He asked, voice low. Not successfully, I replied. A muscle jumped in Noah's cheek. She's not wrong, he said suddenly, words sharp. About me leaving. My stomach dropped. I stared at him. Noah, I said slowly. What are you doing? He looked at me, eyes bright with conflict. I'm warning you, he said. If you're getting attached, I am. I cut in, surprising both of us. The confession hung in the air, simple and terrifying. Noah's gaze went round with surprise. He swallowed hard. Lena, he whispered. I took a shaky breath. I don't do half, I said. I don't do vague. I don't do pretending. If I'm attached, then I'm attached. And if you leave, it will hurt. But I'm not going to live my life avoiding pain like it's a grading rubric. Noah stared at me like I had slapped him with honesty. Then his shoulders sagged, as if he had been holding himself upright by sheer stubbornness. I don't want to leave, he said, voice raw. I'm scared I'll ruin you. I laughed, a short sound that carried no humor. You can't ruin me, I said. I already spent years ruining myself. Noah's breath caught. He stepped closer, so close I could see the tiny freckle near his jaw. Then let me fix it, he murmured. No, I said quickly. Not fix. Just stay. Noah's eyes softened. He nodded once, as if making a decision. Okay, he conceded. I'll stay. He didn't kiss me then. He didn't touch me. He just stood there, close enough to feel real. And somehow that was more intimate than any grand gesture. We didn't label it right away, because labels were another kind of pressure. But the school labeled us anyway. People started calling Noah the wolf-turned-guard dog. People started calling me the saint with fangs. We ignored them. We studied. We ate milk bread on the bus. We argued about everything and agreed on the important parts. When spring arrived, we faced the final stretch. National exams, university applications, the terrifying edge of adulthood. Halcyon turned into a factory of ambition. Students walked the halls like ghosts with backpacks. Teachers whispered about admission rates like priests guarding an altar. I kept my schedule, but I stopped cutting out dinner. Noah kept studying, but he stopped pretending he didn't care. One night, after a brutal day of practice tests, I found Noah on the rooftop, staring at the city lights. The roof was technically off-limits, which made it my favorite place. I walked up beside him, the cold biting my cheeks. "This is illegal," I said. Noah didn't look away from the lights. "So are half your jokes," he replied. I snorted. "What are you thinking about?" I asked. Noah's voice was quiet. "About leaving," he admitted. My stomach tightened. "To go abroad?" I asked. Noah shook his head slowly. "Not abroad," he said. "Just forward, into whatever comes next." He glanced at me. "Do you know where you're going?" "University," I said, automatically. "Biophysics track. Scholarship interview in May." Noah nodded. "You'll get it," he said. "You always do." "That's not a compliment," I replied. "It sounds like a cage." Noah's mouth quirked. "Maybe," he said, "but you built it, so you can rebuild it." I stared at him. "And you?" I asked. Noah hesitated. "My dad wants me overseas," he said. "A program in Zurich. Clean, controlled, impressive." He looked away. I told him I'd think about it. My chest tightened. "And what do you want?" I asked. Noah's voice was barely audible. "I want to stay," he said. "Not just in this city. Not just in this school. I want to stay where you are." The words made my throat burn. "That's reckless," I whispered. Noah smiled, small and sad. "I know," he said, "but I'm tired of being controlled. I'm tired of living like my choices are borrowed." He looked at me. "If I stay, will it make your life harder?" The question was so careful it made my heart ache. I thought of my parents, who loved me but didn't always understand. I thought of Halcyon's expectations. I thought of scholarship boards and polite interviews. I thought of the official version of me, smiling on posters. Then I thought of my private version, collecting cracks like marbles. "It will make my life real," I said. Noah's eyes shimmered. He looked away quickly, as if refusing tears. "Then I'll stay," he said, "if you'll have me." I reached out and linked my pinky with his, because I wasn't ready for bigger gestures. His skin was warm despite the cold. "I'll have you," I said. "But you have to promise something too." Noah's gaze returned. "What?" "Promise you'll eat," I said. "Promise you'll sleep sometimes. Promise you won't treat yourself like a weapon." Noah stared, then laughed softly, the sound breaking the tension. "You're bargaining," he said. "Always," I replied. "Fine," he muttered. "I promise." We sealed it with linked fingers and shared breath in cold air. The exams came. We took them. We survived. I got my scholarship offer. Noah got an acceptance letter to a university in the same city, an engineering program with a reputation for turning stubborn boys into successful men, his father argued. Noah argued back. I didn't witness the conversation, but I saw the aftermath. Noah, arriving at school with eyes red, jaw tight, and a strange calm that spoke of victory and loss. He sat beside me, slid an envelope across my desk. Inside was a note in his messy handwriting. "I chose forward. I chose here." I stared at it until my vision blurred, then looked at him. Noah's ears were pink. He looked away. "Don't cry," he muttered. "I'll tease you forever." I laughed through the sting in my eyes. "I hate you," I whispered. "Liar," he said, and his smile was soft. Graduation happened on a bright day that felt unreal. Halcyon released us with speeches and photos and promises. Parents cried. Teachers hugged. Students shouted. I wore my cap like armor. Noah wore his like a joke, tilted. After the ceremony, we found each other in the chaos behind the stage. For a moment, The noise faded. Noah looked at me, eyes steady. "We did it," he said. I nodded. "Yes," I whispered. Noah lifted his hand, hesitated, then cupped my cheek gently. His thumb brushed the corner of my mouth. My heart slammed into my ribs. "Can I?" he asked, voice low. The question was simple, but it carried all his caution, all his respect. My throat bobbed as I swallowed. "Yes," I said. Noah leaned in and kissed me. It was not dramatic. It was not like movies. It was warm, careful, real. It tasted like milk, bread, and winter, and all the small choices we had made. When he pulled back, my lips tingled. Noah's forehead rested against mine for a second. "You're still impossible," he murmured. I smiled, breath shaking. "So are you," I replied. University was a different kind of pressure. The campus was bigger, the competition sharper, the freedom dizzying. I moved into a dorm with strangers who became friends. I learned that being the smartest in one room meant nothing when every room was filled with brilliance. I studied harder than ever. I failed a quiz for the first time in years and sat on my bed staring at the score as if it were an alien language. That night, I called Noah, furious and miserable. "It's not fair," I said, pacing. "Everyone here is good. Everyone." Noah's voice came through the phone, calm. "Welcome to the real world," he said. I groaned. "Don't be smug," I snapped. Noah chuckled. "I'm not," he said. "I'm proud. You're finally in a place that challenges you." "That's not comforting," I said. "It's terrifying." Noah paused. "Do you want me to come?" he asked softly. I hesitated. "You're an hour away," I said. "It's late." Noah's answer was immediate. "I can be there," he said. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. I looked out the dorm window and nearly dropped it. Noah stood outside under the streetlight, hands in his pockets, hair damp from rain. He didn't have a fancy car. He had a beat-up scooter and a helmet hanging from his elbow. He looked up at my window and waved once, small and ridiculous. My chest tightened with something like relief. I ran downstairs, ignoring the strange looks from dorm mates. When I reached him, Noah held out a small paper bag. "Milk bread," he said, "for emergencies." I stared, then laughed, shaky. "You're bribing me," I accused. Noah's eyes softened. "I'm reminding you," he said. "You're allowed to be human." I took the bag, then shoved it into my backpack and stepped closer. Without thinking, I wrapped my arms around him. Noah froze for half a second, then hugged me back, arms tight around my waist. His breath warmed my neck. "I hate college," and I muttered into his shoulder. Noah let out a short, skeptical huff. "You love it," he replied. "You just hate being new at something." I pulled back to glare. Noah smiled. "Come on," he said. "Let's walk." We walked around campus, quiet. The rain had stopped, leaving the air fresh. Noah listened as I ranted about professors and impossible assignments. He didn't try to fix it. He just stayed, which was what I had asked for on the rooftop. By the time we returned to my dorm, my breathing had steadied. I looked at him, suddenly aware of how far we had come. "Noah," I said softly, "thank you." Noah's ears went